Hello. This Thursday, it's Friday again. Happy to be here. Happy to see you. Happy you're riding with me today. Been jotting down some ideas today about stuff I want to talk about. One thought that popped. So today, I was a floater as part of my team. So I was driving around a lot. Something that popped up into my head while I was driving. I don't know why I did this, but I live in a city, and there's lots of we have a homeless issue like every other city, and I passed several homeless people on corners and in my car, and I had the thought. I thought about Fallout, the Fallout series on Amazon Prime. Thought about Fallout and the idea of just the whole concept, and thinking about how the main character was a naive vaulter, and whenever she came out of the vault. Now, I also want to preface that I've never been on the street homeless. Some people can make arguments that, that they were or were not without a home. So technically, like by the most literal definition, homeless. But when I think of homeless, I mean on the street homeless. And I've never gotten to a point where I was on the street homeless. And so I don't know what that's like. I don't claim to know what that's like. But there was something that I found so interesting, is that, a lot of normal people in society, a lot of normies, and I'm not even going to act like I haven't judged homeless people in some form or fashion. If I hadn't, had certain prejudice, and a conflicting and opposing thought came into my mind as I was, reflecting on my surroundings, on what my eyes were seeing, and this particular reflecting, opposing thought was like, if I had to exist, if you had to exist as in the the term subculture can be applied in this alternative society that is the unhoused population. If you had to survive, if today you lost everything, you lost your car, you lost all your clothes, your ID, your wallet, your job, and you were on the street, and you had to figure things out. One, and this brings up something that I've thought before also about The Walking Dead. As I imagine, as an unhoused person, every night is like The Walking Dead, where you have to, in this ruined landscape of society, you have to find a place to sleep for the night. You have to defend yourself. Sometimes walkers, I think is what they call them, could creep up on you, or it could be another human. So just like that, that's the society that that's the reality, is what I'm saying, that homeless people may face. But back to the Fallout thing, where if you, with what you know now, with having a job, paying taxes, paying bills, signing a lease, paying a car payment. If you lost all that with no prior notice and were put on the street and then therefore had to survive, there's a chance that you might be there may be a learning curve. And just like in the main character of Fallout, when she first left the vault, she was naive, overly optimistic, like trusting of people, and she was unaware of the rules of the surface world. And that's kind of how homeless people are. Homeless people are the surface people. It's a Fallout ends up being a whole metaphor for actual life, and not just the vault dwellers and the surface people, but if you remember, there was military factions, like a sea story. I thought that part was interesting too, was that there was a sea plot of the military, and man, like that also, it also applies to that, where like you have all these people living in this Fallout wasteland, and they're all have a different view of what's really happening, and nobody has a full picture. They're all experiencing their own truth and trying to thrive in this environment. And if you're in a military person, if that's your world, your reality is very different from a civilian, someone whose reality, like, if you want to ask me how often I think about the military or military things, outside of the news, it's pretty rare. Not gonna, it's pretty rare. It's pretty rare that I think about military related happenings or bills or benefit things or that are related to the military, or of course, aware of the war in Iran, Gaza, whatever, aware of those things, but that's all news related. Outside of that, I don't think, because that's not my truth. Just like you think, if you have to actually put yourself in the shoes of some of these people, if you have to put yourself in the shoes of some of these people, they also aren't thinking about, a homeless person isn't thinking about, honestly, they're really just trying to find food, find a safe place to eat, and the stuff that applies to them. If it doesn't apply to them, then they probably aren't thinking about it. Just like as a housed person with a job and a family, talking about you, maybe you don't think about the realities or the current offerings or resources that are available for the unhoused. I got to take a pause real quick. I have just gotten home, and I would really like to continue this, because this has been a good discussion so far, and I have a little bit more to say, but I'll catch y'all in just a second. Literally 1 second.